In that really bad time in my life, I bombarded myself with all sorts of negative self-talk. And I think that this was, at least in significant part, I don't think it was exclusively, but it was a big part of the reason I felt so terrible all the time. And worse than that, I think it was having an impact on what I was doing. I would drive to work and I would think, oh my God, you are such a failure. I can't believe you're not making more money. You don't have a better job. What the heck is wrong with you? And I would be constantly giving myself these messages. I would be at work and I'd be saying this stuff. When I was at school, I was doing this stuff. When I was going to bed at night, I would sit there and tell myself these things over and over again. And I was absolutely miserable. And worse, it was coming out. I was becoming a failure. I was becoming a terrible parent after I was saying to myself, you're a terrible parent. I was not making as much money as I should have been making at work. I was falling apart. That negative self-talk is a big part of the reason. My name is David Enevoltson, and I'm the creator of Emotional Embuffination. In this video, I want to talk to you a little bit about autosuggestion, what that is, and how you can apply it. Let's start with the definition. Autosuggestion is essentially this idea that you're taking a message and burying it into your subconscious. And you're doing it on a conscious level, usually on the front end, but sometimes we're doing it unconsciously. And if we're doing it unconsciously is when it becomes very dangerous, because your subconscious is going to be sending out some sort of messages and is going to ripple out into the rest of your life, whether you know what's going into it or not. So if you're consciously putting messages in, you can control what's going to happen. If you're unconsciously doing it, which is what most people do, then you have zero control over what your subconscious is going to start doing as it ripples out into things. Let me give you an example. Have you ever heard somebody say something like, oh, I can't eat a donut right now. I'm such a fat pig. I just can't. It's too many calories and I can't afford it because I'm such a pig. Seems like a pretty innocuous statement when you hear it on its face, but buried in there is that I'm such a fat pig. And when we take those little messages, we start telling ourselves, I'm a fat pig, I'm a fat pig, I'm a fat pig. That becomes our identity. That becomes our label. And that becomes what our subconscious starts acting out and trying to do. Is we become a fat pig. Same thing that happened with me when I was telling myself I was a terrible parent. I started to become a terrible parent. When I started telling myself that I was a loser and couldn't make any money or couldn't get a good job, I didn't get a good job and I wasn't making money. All these negative messages that we're very often not even thinking about are going to start dumping into that subconscious. Here's another example, and I see this all the time. I see people on Facebook that will post memes that seem to celebrate mediocrity. They will make some self-deprecating comment about, oh, I'm going into 2019 and everything's a disaster, and here's me tumbling down a hill trying to figure out how to deal with my life, or something of that nature. I see those all the time, and people just think, ha ha ha, it's very funny, but you're subconsciously absorbing these messages. And when you do that, it starts to ripple out into everything else. The idea with autosuggestion in a constructive way is that we take the messages and we think about what we're dumping into ourselves. And there's lots of different ways we can do that. You can use a mantra. A lot of people will just have some statement, some affirmational thing that they'll tell themselves all the time over and over and over again. And in so doing, they start dumping it into their subconscious and make positive things come out. Other things you can do are have triggers that certain things will cue up words that you might think about, like I'm very successful, or successful might be your word. You might trigger on that every time you walk through a doorway. The trigger idea is another one. Another concept you can do is something that I do, which is to have a bracelet or some sort of a reminder with you that has a motivational message. In this case, I've got this bracelet. I don't know if you've seen it in other videos, but it's generally there. And I've had this, I got it and engraved it. And in this bracelet, I have put on 3 words that I think identify the ideal version of who I am. And so as I'm going through my day, here I will share it with you so that everybody can see it. It's fit, fearless, and fun are my 3 words. As I'm going through my day then, I can remind myself, what would that ideal version of me do? And I think about those words and I see them constantly. So I'm constantly bombarding myself with positive messages. And then I start to act out on those and things start to get better. I am, for example, fit. When I get up in the morning, I go to the gym and I'm hitting the gym at least 4 times a week pretty consistently now. And a lot of times I get up and I think, that ideal version of me would do that. That's the fit. If I'm walking into some sort of a social situation, I will regularly think, oh, fun. I'm that fun person. And I go in and I have a very different energy than I would otherwise. And over time, it starts to become habit because you're constantly bombarding yourself with that. The idea then is you just control what you're feeding your subconscious. You want to make sure that you're saying the things that you want to become and not just mindlessly dumping whatever into your subconscious. Of course, like everything else, there's going to be other factors, but this is a huge one. That self-talk is very, very important. And if you're not paying attention to what's going into your mind, then there's just going to be a bunch of garbage in there and you're not going to be operating at peak efficiency. So pay attention to what you're saying. And that is my challenge for you this week. As you're going through your day, pay attention to anything you're saying that could be negative self-talk or positive self-talk. And that's the first layer of this. There's going to be a two-part challenge here. First, pay attention. Just start observing what you're saying to yourself. Are you saying those negative things? Are you saying, oh my God, I'm so fat, or I'm a loser, or oh God, I'm so stupid, I can't believe I made that mistake? When you hear yourself saying those, start to take a little tally. And then once you've made an assessment of where you are, redefine what you want to be. Redefine what you want to tell yourself, and then start implementing that. Start telling yourself that thing on a regular basis. Create a mantra, get a wristband, do something, put a little card up by your computer screen so that you remember your mantra or words or whatever it is, and then start feeding yourself some positive messages. If you haven't already done this, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and also check out the resources that I have on www.embuffination.com.